Hello and welcome to the Gambling Files podcast, the podcast that's finally returning its air fryer under the no quibble 28 days guarantee, but is in fact not dissatisfied with the product as such. I'm one of your hosts, John Bruford, joined by our other host, Fintan Costello. Fintan, how's your air fryer?
They will take my air fryer out of my cold, dead hands. Big fan of the air fryer. Big fan of the slow cooker. Big fan of the deep fryer. I like a cooking appliance that does something well.
A kitchen gadget, you might say.
Yeah. I've got all three, and they're all great in their own way. Like yesterday, I cooked a brisket in the slow cooker. Brilliant.
Wow.
Had brisket sandwiches for lunch. It's great.
Brisket, you say? How long do you cook a brisket for in a slow cooker, Fintan?
This one was about 1.7 kilos, so it was 9.5 hours.
It's a big joint.
Yeah. Don't mess about.
How many hours? 9.5?
9.5. So stick it on in the morning. So stick the coffee machine on, stick the brisket in, make a coffee, go back to bed. Easy. Yeah,
it's good.
Super easy.
Yeah, but when I've been doing brisket, I'd be about, a kilo, maybe a fraction over a kilo. But I'd probably going to do it for maybe 7 hours, 6-7 hours. Maybe I should go slightly longer.
Longer, slower and longer. That's a good rule for life.
That's certainly my attitude when it comes to work. I'm going to do it slower and it's going to take longer. If this podcast is my CV, I'm becoming less employable by the minute. So I bought an air fryer.
Mm-hmm.
And
I remember.
And but I went for this. It's like a fancy design one. It's like a vertical 2-drawer air fryer.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, except it has what I believe to be a significant design flaw, because it kind of. Okay, so the average air fryer, I believe, has heat circulated from above, right? Does that sound about right to you?
I really haven't thought about it. All I know is I put chicken wings in and I flip them and I take chicken wings out and I've got a plate of chicken wings. I haven't really thought about the mechanics of what happens inside the magic box. Okay.
But with the magic box, you've got a drawer, right? Most of the machine is above the drawer, not below the drawer.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Right. So the heat is coming from above. On the vertical one, it doesn't do that. It comes from the back. So the drawers have holes in the one side for the air to be pushed in horizontally.
Mm-hmm.
But what that actually results in is really uneven cooking, because whatever's at the back of the drawer against the solid wall, that cooks way more and way quicker than the rest of the drawer. Because heat's obviously bouncing off. It's getting 2 passes with that little bit.
Yeah.
And
just get a different air fryer, mate. Swap it for something else.
Yeah, I spoke to him yesterday and I'm like, look, I'm not happy with how this works. I'm happy with the product in its own way, but I'd like one that is, kind of consistent in a single cookage. And they were very understanding. And they said, certainly, sir. So they sent me the label and all that. And I've got the replacement is coming today.
Which one did you get?
One where the drawers are side by side. I've been doing a lot of meat dehydration in there.
Yeah. Not a euphemism.
No, it's really not. In fact, if those of you watching on video, this is, in fact, some dehydrated beef from my air fryer. It's not something that the dog left on my desk.
How appealing. Oh, wow. I should really...
Yeah, but nobody looks at jerky or what's the one that's not jerky but is similar?
Biltong.
Biltong. See, that's closer to biltong than jerky, but Nobody looks at biltong and jerky and is like, oh, that looks delicious. No, it all looks like something's crapped it out. Some of it tastes like something's crapped it out.
But yours is quite a solid, like, because typically jerky and biltong is like a thinner slice.
I haven't cut this particularly thin. I've my knives aren't
quite. I think
sharp,
it was more the lumpy texture to it.
But it's also, my knives not being very sharp is also how I approach business.
Just dull knives.
It is.
You're taking a dull knife to a gunfight? Like, where's the analogy?
I take a spoon.
A spoon. Took a spoon to an arse kicking contest. Yeah.
But that reminds me of it's not even a very good Simpsons joke, but when they're visiting Australia and somebody goes to Bart, it's like the old line from Crocodile Dundee. Oh, he's got a knife. No, that's not a knife. This is a knife. You know the line? Where they use that in the Simpsons.
Oh, you've played knifey. You've played knifey spoony before, I say.
It's not a knife, that's a spoon. I played knifey spoony before. And it's a
knifey spoony is a key part of my vocabulary. That and cromulent I use quite a lot.
Cromulent is a very fine word. Very fine word. It's a cromulent word.
It's perfectly cromulent. I use quite a lot. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I don't, right. But
or oi Prime Minister. Oi Prime Minister when you need to complain was also a good one. That's it. I'm calling my Prime Minister.
The cat's Prime Minister. He smelled the beef.
Oh. Set the animals off.
Now he's sniffing the desk where he used to be.
I'm hungry.
No, you see, the dog is now jealous because the cat's on the desk.
The cat just doesn't give a shit because cats don't care.
He was out all night the other night.
Was he?
Yeah.
Dirty stop it.
Well, I haven't got a cat flap, so he usually comes in about 11, has a bite to eat and goes to bed. Dude, there is no need for that. Dog's going mental because of the cat. Yeah, so he stayed, but then it's been very warm, so I think he probably caught something, killed it, and...
You hate me. I'm dying. I too need cuddles.
You can hear that, can't you? Yeah.
I can hear that, yeah, really well.
He's not done.
Monster. I do need the turkey.
I want the world to know how you treat me. Well,
call the RSPCA.
The joke's on you, Farley, because nobody's listening.
Don't give it away, John. Don't give it away. Gambling Industry's #1 podcast.
Speaking of which, we have some erstwhile long-time sponsors to give some love to. Although, hang on. We have one sponsor to give love to this week.
We do. The wonderful, cerebral, smart, good-looking, hard-working, perfectly cromulent people at Optimove. The gambling industry's #1 CRM platform.
Number one,
except no substitutes. Click the link in the description, get a demo, see for yourself how it's going to save you a shitload of money
and time,
and make you more money and time. And the other thing as well, like we had Jon on a couple of weeks ago talking about the Euros.
I was here, yes.
And
that Jon.
Yeah, the other Jon. The smart Jon. And it was it's also kind of like because they work with so many gambling companies, the level of insights and kind of data they can layer on top of what you're doing is actually really interesting. Because a lot of the times you're kind of sort of operating in a vacuum or based on prior experience, but kind of saying, well, look, here's what we're seeing across the network of clients and kind of travel of direction of trends and opportunities maybe you're missing or things to dial up or dial down. Yeah, there's a lot there that you can take advantage of. So I would definitely be using Optimove if I had a gambling company.
I think I would too.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that because they're our sponsors and they're nice.
No, it solves so many problems.
It does,
For sure.
and it's certainly, it can both reduce and increase cromulence.
Which, as we know, is the key driver of profitability in every organization.
Huge factor. You've only got to go onto Wall Street. Do you not see The Big Short? It's in the director's cut. There's a whole section on cromulence that was cut from the final movie.
Because it was too good.
It was too revealing. Nobody
believed how easy it was.
It's like, hang on. He spotted the beef. Dude. I'm gonna have to hide my beef.
Jesus.
I'm fully clothed. It's like what?
Doesn't matter. Ignore me. Carry on. Go on.
Ages.
It's like that thing from Big Short.
Yeah, no, it's just like the legendary screenwriter William Goldman. He wrote a very, very famous book about his career in films called Adventures in the Screen Trade. And Goldman wrote probably more classic movies than any other screenwriter. He wrote Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, most of all The President's Men, The Princess Bride, The Longest Day. He wrote tons and tons of really excellent films. Miserable bastard. But he wrote this book, and he was writing about the experience of writing the screenplay for The Longest Day, which you're probably aware, being in Holland, was about was it Operation Market Garden?
Oh yeah.
Where they were seizing the bridges basically to attempt to take the country back and cut off the supply lines to France, etc. He said when he was doing his research, he was reading all of these stories about heroism in World War II, and he was unable to use just tons and tons of stuff because he realized that he had to make a movie that in the mid-1970s would resonate and be believable to somebody in the middle of Idaho. There's one story in particular that he illustrates in this thing. It's that a bridge had to be taken. The weather forecast was that it would be foggy in the morning, and the Allied forces were on their side of the bridge. German forces on the other side, don't know that anybody's there, waiting to take the bridge. The idea was row across in coracles or something similar. Row across, take them out quietly, take the bridge, take the town. All very simple when you put it like that. As the first group were crossing the water, a breeze picks up out of nowhere and the fog all blows away, leaving them with their arses in their hands in the middle of this river. And unsurprisingly, thanks, Cap, the German troops saw them and shot the shit out of them. But the second group still got in their boats and followed. And that was the part he said, there's no way that I can make anybody believe that these people would get into those boats and still get into the water, knowing exactly what's going to happen to them. And it's really interesting. And I feel that it would have been the same in The Big Short with the cromulent section. Nobody would have believed it.
Nobody would have believed.
No.
The market garden, there's a huge, I've done a race that follows the drop zone for the paratroopers for Operation Market Garden. So you start at one end where there's, and I was blown away by it. So you start at one end and you end up at the bridge at Arnhem. So the bridge too far, which is the other movie.
No, you're quite right. The movie that Goldman was writing was A Bridge Too Far, not The Longest Day. Thanks.
I wasn't sure. And so there's this really lovely sculpture and visitor center and stuff to celebrate the paratroopers. And so you follow it through and you're kind of just running through Dutch countryside, which is spectacularly flat. And this bit's near the German border, so it's a bit more lumpy, but still, compared to most places, ridiculously flat. But what I was blown away by, because it's something I hadn't expected or seen, was you run through these little villages and stuff, and there was so many houses with, because they do it at the time of year, so there's so many houses with English flags, American flag, Polish flag, paratrooper flag, celebrating the event or the operation. And like, it was a lot of houses had this, and it was a really fitting thing. And they gave you this lovely, at the beginning of the race, you got your race number, but you also got this little wooden cross with a poppy on it. And one of the things they do is they stop at a lot of the graveyards where a lot of the paratroopers are buried, or locals and stuff. So you can pick a grave to pay a tribute. And it was just a really thoughtful, nice thing. And then you finish at the bridge and stuff in Arnhem, which was obviously still there and still huge. And yeah, it was a really interesting one to see.
Fabulous. Sounds really good. If you put that race on in the UK, what you would have is you would have, as with our recent protests, you would have people doing a deeply incorrect kind of salute and commemorating people sacrificed in the war by setting fire to children's libraries. It's a good time to be in Britain.
Yeah.
Seriously, if that's your idea of protest, you're not a protester, you're a fucking idiot. But what do I know? If anybody wants to dox me online, honestly, my address is really easy to find. I'm not hiding. I'm good.
Couldn't be easier. Long story. Today's guest.
Oh, it's a good point, Fintan.
Today's guest.
We've got one.
We've got one. We've got a live one. And returning guest, friend of the podcast, dear friend of the podcast, Ros Wade from Winna Media.
Winna Media.
And we talk about a couple of things. We talk about Thailand regulating and what's going on in Thailand, which is super interesting. And as Ross says, it's one of the few countries to regulate in a while in Asia. And Ross is running a fantastic event in December, 3rd and 4th of December in Bangkok, bringing together regulators, suppliers, bankers, everybody basically that'll be involved. She knows everybody. She's brilliant at this kind of stuff. So if you have any interest in Thailand, go to Winna Media at WINNA media.com, book a ticket. There's a welcome dinner and stuff. And she also tells us about our Hot 100. We weren't on the Hot 100, John. I didn't want to bring it up. Like, it'd be a bit rude, but like, do you think we dropped enough hints? Do you think it was too subtle?
I think you were just on the right side of subtle.
Yeah.
So
obviously there's the hot. there's the Hot 102, which includes me and John. And so these are exclusive events that Ros runs in Asia, bringing together suppliers and operators in luxurious events or luxurious locations, and very bespoke, very, very VIP. Very VIP.
And you noticed, though, that still nobody's done a best podcast at their awards.
Tell me about it.
Keep seeing award after award. No awards. Oh, there's more awards. Nobody's done best podcast. Well, wait for them to get free publicity.
We could run the best podcast award.
You could argue that we have some bias.
Just run it and just give it to ourselves. Be no corrupt in any other award ceremony. Who cares?
There are some allegations in what you just said that I'm not sure that I can support. No, actually, I totally can.
We'll sell a lot of tables and give ourselves the awards. It's brilliant. What could go wrong? And then with Ros, we also talk about everything going on in the Philippines, even more Philippine drama, with the POGOs and clamping down on stuff and all sorts of shenanigans. And then the cliffhanger, the one you've got to hang around for, particularly if you're watching on video, is we get to see Ros's dog at the end.
We do.
And the dog is adorable.
Fintan, the young people say adorbs.
Adorbs. Oh, I've been using the new slang with my son, around my son, but I'm deliberately doing it badly. So things like, I don't know, mewing or what's the other stuff? I can't even think now, but there's all these new phrases. Sigma and alpha and skibbity toilet, and these kind of things. So I'm just randomly just inserting them into sentences and just getting it completely wrong. And he's at that age now where he's just dying with embarrassment. And he's tried to get me to promise never to do it in front of anybody outside of the house, which is funny. It's very funny. And then occasionally I'll get it. Then occasionally I'll get it right and just keep him guessing. It's like, oh, does he know? I don't know.
He's probably there thinking even a stopped clock is right twice a day.
Story of my life, mate.
Also, how I approach business. I should really write a how-to manual.
You should, for sure. So yeah, listen to Roz. She's brilliant. She really knows her stuff, and she's learned a lot.
She's bossing shit. So,
Jeez.
Ros Wade, Winna Media, talking Asia. We're joined by our number one, first, only guest this week, because some weeks you only need one. Not to say that in weeks where we've had more than one guest, it was because anybody was inadequate in any way, because that was not the case. Get that out of your heads. Everybody is equal on this podcast. Except me. I'm a clown, if you ever go on Twitter. Have either of you had the clown emoji used on you on Twitter? I get it all the fucking time.
Not yet.
Something to aspire to. I look forward to it.
Definitely, Fintan. I'll hop on in a minute and I'll clown you right up.
Thanks, buddy.
But we're joined by Ros Wade, who, Ros, what's your title in your new venture?
Yeah, so I'm the CEO because why not? Because I'm the founder. So CEO of Winna Media.
Now,
which was founded last year.
Winna is spelled W-I-N-N-A, but still rhymes with dinner, as in winner chicken dinner. Was that expression a factor in how you named the business?
Well, I can't pretend that it probably didn't influence me. I mean, much of my business was created whilst out on dog walks. So, lots of free brain thinking space. So it's quite possible I was influenced, like musicians are influenced, but unknowingly by music they listened to as they were growing up. So it's quite possible. I mean, it's a catchy phrase.
What I think
but
about
not
dog walks, Ros.
Not consciously.
What I think about dog walks, Ros, I think about what a knobhead my dog is.
Wow.
I believe he is. I mean, his only crime is not being my old dog. But
it's not his fault. He can't control that.
No, I know that. But they say you love the dog you have, not the dog you wish you had. But I've struggled. I've spent 7 years attempting to bond with him. And the simple truth is, I should have not got a dog.
Was he a rebound dog? Was that what it was?
He was a when I moved out of the family home, I said to Fern, I'll take the big dog because 3 kids and 2 dogs is quite a lot. And so I took him, and it gives you a bit of routine and all of that sort of thing, and that can't be a terrible thing. And then she went and got a puppy. Okay.
Ros, what does Winna Media do? What are you up to?
What does Winna Media do? Well, my first project was the Hot 100. So really, it's going back to kind of creating smaller, more intimate, bespoke events that promote relationship building and networking rather than this proliferation of kind of just ginormous expos, which are all very well and good, certainly for the organisers, but don't, in my opinion, really facilitate kind of this, the need to actually build relationships with people. I mean, this is what I miss from the gaming industry, is that, where a lot of the people that are your friends. And certainly I think people prefer doing business with people that they know and like. And that's just, true of any industry. So created the Hot 100, which was, the idea behind it was to have 50 operators, 50 suppliers, put them all together in a beautiful resort, have tons of fantastic networking events such as dinners, poker games, pool parties, golf tournaments, and then in terms of content, some kind of curated content, you have to give them some kind of platform or framework, I think. But then, as I alluded to before, I'm a big fan of kind of open space thinking and allowing people the time and space for organic conversations to happen. So very different from a 5-10 minute conversation held at a booth when you're chatting over the breakfast buffet or on the golf course or, at a pool party or something like that. So that was the first project in Vietnam, not the most obvious of places, but was really looking at the Southeast Asian gaming market. And then now working on, a second Hot 100, although that's going to be in a secret location in December. And
is it a volcano?
Also, though, not that I was really planning to do normal conferences, shall we say, but of course, Thailand is about to or has just legalized casinos.
Really?
So very, very exciting in the Asian gaming world. There aren't very many new markets, that are interesting and have loads of potential, and Thailand does.
Ros, lots of interesting points you brought up there. We're definitely coming back to Thailand. The Hot 100 thing, I think you could distill that.
Did your invite get lost in the mail, Jon?
We're thinking of the 102.
No, I'm thinking of the Hot 12 and a calendar.
Oh, there we go.
That's a great idea. Yes, I'll give you the royalties.
And we can objectify the gambling industry, basically.
And since it's mostly male over there, I'm thinking, this could be really good. Yeah.
But there's a lot of times, or a lot of. Let me revise that. Some people that you meet like having their egos stroked. So the calendar ties into everything. It's just an idea. I'm just throwing it out there.
Theme it, I think. Let's think of a theme then. I mean, we just had Olympics, so that not that, but I think we have to get.
You could do it with the sporting calendar.
Theme, do you not think?
You could do it with the sporting calendar. So, like September would be the NFL. So there'd be somebody in like a helmet, and then there'd be the Champions League kickoff. And
sorry, Fintan, you'd be able to see somebody's what?
Football helmet.
Right.
We could make it work. We could make it work.
Some sort of.
So look, just to volunteer on behalf of myself and Jon, if any of your exclusive events and secret locations need a podcast, we are more than happy.
It's quite possible
to recommend a few people.
Yeah, celebrity podcast.
Also, Fintan had a wonderful idea in there. I don't know if you heard it, Ros. You were talking about your secret location, and Fintan was like, volcano, straight away, volcano. So
there is one in the Philippines. Yeah. There's the Mount. Yes, Bayon's. Or there's the volcano within the volcano in Lake Tahoe, isn't there? Yes, I could do it there.
Brilliant.
See,
so not just volcano, but volcano within a volcano. I think it has to be, right.
And Tahoe has the added bonus of being relatively inexpensive to stay.
That's in the States.
Yeah, I think we should go to Lake Tahoe.
Yes, but it's not that one. That's what it's called. But Lake Tahoe, yes, a bit far for the Asians, but we'll try and make that happen.
That is true.
What's happening? So Thailand's newly regulated market.
Big news.
This has completely bypassed me. Totally missed it. Which is why we got Rosalind. What happened or what's happened, or what's about to happen? So is it land-based, online? How many licenses? All that kind of stuff.
Very good question. So they've been talking about it for some time now. It wasn't possible whilst the old king was alive, just because he was very, very against casinos. So now that he's gone, his son is is obviously the king now, a bit more liberal. So the government has, is indicating that it is a bit more liberal, although they're looking at recriminalizing marijuana. So that's exploded, obviously, since they allowed cannabis cafes. And then same-sex marriages, I think they've allowed. So they've been talking about, whether to allow casinos for some time now. So it's part of a big push by the Tourism Authority of Thailand, who have a very ambitious goal to reach 3.4 trillion baht. I'm not sure how much that is, a lot in dollars or pounds, 3.4 trillion baht from tourism revenue. And there was a study done which indicated that legalizing casinos as part of these big sort of entertainment complexes could bring in $12 billion worth of revenue, or additional revenue. And then not only that, but sort of bringing in a higher quality and perhaps a higher class of tourists. So they've had their sort of lessons in international entertainment. Taylor Swift was recently in Singapore. They had a monopoly on her concerts. So that was a good lesson for them. And I think they're very determined to sort of step up on that global or regional entertainment stage, have these big concerts, have these big sort of, sporting events. So they're calling them entertainment complexes. In the rest of the region, they might call them integrated resorts, but it effectively means a casino with a number of other elements to it. So they are only talking about land-based at the moment. And in fact, the draft bill specifically excludes any gambling via sort of electronic means connected to the internet. So no offshore gaming. And the types of businesses, the sort of entertainment, other businesses that they must have, there must be at least 4 of hotels, restaurant, bars, the usual thing, retail, obviously, water parks, sporting facilities. I mean, we might stretch to kind of medical centers, although those aren't specified. So these big entertainment complexes, there's going to be up to 5 licenses initially, they say.
Okay.
They haven't identified which are the locations. There's lots of speculation as to where those may be. One of the parameters is that they must be within 100 kilometers of an airport. So that, tells you about some of the places. I mean, Phuket obviously has its own airport, and that's been expanded or being expanded. And then, they're talking about potentially Bangkok adjacent, although it's not really clear what that means, how far away from Bangkok. There's a big shopping mall area in the south. There's a massive kind of convention center area called Impact. I think it's more towards the north. So those are potentials. Otherwise, kind of along that eastern corridor. So we don't know where yet, up to 5 licenses. And those licenses are going to be for up to 30 years initially, reviewed every 10 years, I believe, or every 5 years. And then with the potential to renew that then for 10 years after the initial term has ended. So very attractive. I mean, Thailand's a very, popular tourist destination anyway.
Yeah.
So they're looking to capitalize on that, really.
So is it, because obviously, I'm in Amsterdam, so it's kind of the same issue of like backpacking students looking for a cafe to smoke some weed, which is a very low cost or low revenue tourist. Exactly. And Thailand would kind of have that reputation for a lot of countries, like from Australia, New Zealand type areas, plus from Europe and stuff. So is there obviously there's the higher revenue, but is it like higher revenue from, say, Europe, Australia, or is it let's build some casinos and try and attract the Chinese audience like everywhere else? Or what do you think the target is?
Well, they haven't really said. They are targeting certainly Chinese arrivals, and I think those are not as, still not back to pre-pandemic levels, but certainly are increasing. Of course, there are issues with targeting Chinese gamblers. Other countries in the region have had their wrists slapped and, told in no uncertain terms not to induce them to gamble, let's say, as if they need much inducement.
Just building the casinos enough, right? Sorry.
Yeah. But no, that's certainly, there's a really very real issue, is Thailand, China could come down hard on Thailand, and I'm sure they're not in their pocket as much as, say, Cambodia are, where, a lot of the infrastructure has been financed by China. That's not so much the case in Thailand. So not as sort of beholden, if you like, perhaps to Beijing. But I think tourists from all over, I mean, the Koreans are big gamblers as well, and good visitors to Thailand as well. Other nations in Southeast Asia, of course, part of the reasoning is to address the illegal gambling problem. So there's a lot of illegal gambling. I mean, there's no legal gambling in Thailand at the moment, but it is a very big sports betting market, for example. And then there are casinos across the borders with each of their neighbors. So across the borders with Myanmar, with Laos, with Cambodia. And of course, there's leakage then of Thais going across the borders to gamble in these places. So now, there may be some negotiation that needs to happen with those border casinos, because depending on who controls them, it's all very messy and political sometimes. So a lot of negotiation to do. I mean, things look very positive. So the House announced that they had finalized the bill yesterday. So things certainly look very positive. As with Thailand, there could always be some snafus along the way. I think there's a hearing tomorrow to see whether they might kick the Prime Minister out. So yes, all fun and games always. So let's see what happens with that. Saying that, even, I think the bill is supported by a wide range of parties across the government. So it has backing. So even if there's some sort of delay, I think the thinking is that it's going to go ahead at some point.
Got it. And so it's kind of, let's get the bill passed and then we'll figure out setting up a regulator and the tendering process for the licenses. So there's still a lot to come then with this.
Absolutely.
Before even there's a hole in the ground kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Got it. And then you sent in the beginning, you were organizing an event or something for Thailand. What's your plan there?
Yes. So it's the Thai Entertainment Complex Summit. Nice. So it does what it says on the tin. And it's happening first week of December in Bangkok, at the Marriott of the Surawongse, which is a really nice hotel in Ceylon, not far from the river as well, though. So 3rd and 4th of December, with a welcome dinner on the 2nd. And, currently sort of in touch with all the government ministries to get them on board, but also, it's really an opportunity for people to meet potential partners, understand the lay of the land, get a sort of jump on sort of first mover advantage, if you like, and being on the ground. I mean, everybody has their people on the ground already, been looking at the situation. So all the big operators who've already said they're interested, have people on the ground already. But, we'll be getting the sort of hotel groups, the property developers, the financiers there, all the people, the partnerships that you need to make these entertainment complexes a reality, because, of course, gaming is only going to be a small part of those. So, yes, very exciting. And registration is, in fact, now open. I'm just about to announce that today.
Brilliant. So is there a website?
Sorry?
Is there a website?
There is a website. It's just on the Winna Media website. So it's winnamedia.com. And that's Winna, as you pointed out, Jon, WINNA.
Perfect. We'll make sure there's links to that. Super. And who wouldn't want to go to Bangkok in early December? Sounds fantastic.
Exactement.
Exactly. So there's lots going on in lots of different Asian countries. The other big news was the Philippines.
Everything's going on in the Philippines, Fintan. Everything's going on in the Philippines.
Everything's always going on in the Philippines.
It's a busy country.
It is actually quite bonkers because there's new land-based licenses up for grabs, I think, and people are talking about investing not insignificant sums of money. But the thing that's really interesting to me is the whole POGO situation. I think that's quite interesting.
Interesting, isn't it? Yes, I mean, it depends how you want to look at it. I mean, I think the latest twist in the tale is that there's going to be an inquiry, former President Duterte has been called up for an inquiry into the links between POGOs, drugs, and the extrajudicial killings. And in fact, even a question over whether POGOs were legal in the first place. So although it was an executive order from the presidential office, which are generally considered to be legal unless challenged in court at the time, but it was not, online gaming and online gaming regulation was not in PAGCOR's charter. So the question is whether they were even legal to begin with. So all very messy. Yes, indeed.
Wow.
And certainly it's going to hurt PAGCOR revenues. It will hurt the economy there, certainly in the short term, I would think, because, there's all the real estate. Foreign workers have been told they need to get out, I think by September 24th or something like that.
Really?
So,
that soon?
Yeah, they're being kicked out. So
to be fair, that's surprisingly generous with time, because I think, what is it in Macau? It's like 3 weeks or something, isn't it? 3 weeks and you can fuck off if you haven't got a job.
Yeah, if you lost your blue card, yeah.
But if you have one of these POGOs, so you've got this, so the correct. So POGO is you're a gambling business based in the Philippines, but you're targeting outside of the Philippines. Which is, so you'll have like a call center, you'll have staff, you'll have customer support, like you'll have quite a lot of bodies in an office space.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no, that's it. Everything's done. Move.
Well, no, not exactly. So there has been a request, I think, by the industry, I suppose, to allow the business of POGOs to still happen. So like you correctly said, the majority of that business is customer service, traders, support staff, account managers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, it's quite possible they may allow the business portion of that to remain, but then the targeting of people in other countries, which no one quite understood anyway, how you could license someone to market to people in other countries. But it's the same as any other sort of grey market, if you like, or pre-regulated grey market regulator. So I think they're considering that at the moment. And certainly, the e-games revenue for PAGCOR has increased, I think it was 32% in the last quarter. So that's going gangbusters. So there's a healthy domestic business there. So it won't all disappear overnight. And, certainly perhaps the suppliers who had to get licenses to be able to service these IGLs, as they were supposed to be newly called, that were internet gaming licensees. Presumably they can still service the domestic operators. So the business won't go away. I don't really know what sort of form that will take of the POGO's operations, still having the operations still in the Philippines, in which case quite a lot of the infrastructure could be kept. So perhaps that's
And is this kind of a similar trend to, so like obviously Curacao is going through a whole upgrading of its licensing procedures and stuff. Malta and Gibraltar have been under pressure with the FATF, not sure what
so
they basically they're on the
yeah.
grey list for money laundering type, money transfer type stuff. So is it all part of that kind of trend of FATFA grey listing? We need to tighten up our procedures and do stuff.
It could be, but I think they're under the cosh with the casinos as well. So it wasn't just the POGOs that were causing the AML issues. I think that's also a casino issue. So they're working very hard to clean those up. And certainly the incoming COO Wilma Eisma said that her overriding goal is to get the Philippines removed from FATFA, or if it's not removed, then it's not the fault of PAGCOR or the casinos or the gaming industry. So, so working very hard to remove that. Certainly, I'm sure that is an issue, but it was more that there's been some big scandals lately, and there was the mayor Alice Guo, who's potentially actually a Chinese citizen and implicated in all of these. There's been several raids of all these complexes with goodness knows what sort of things going on in these complexes. I mean, including online fraud, all these phishing things and the romance scams and these fish tanks with girls in them, So, I mean, not pretty, not nice, human trafficking.
Fish tanks with girls in it.
Maybe that's also a reason, perhaps.
The fish tanks, Rose.
Let's go back to the fish tanks with
actual
girls.
Fish tanks, but viewing platforms.
Oh, okay. I understand now.
Yeah, not actual aquariums.
They got mermaids.
Similar to in that there are platforms with glass, and people can look through the glass.
Okay.
To what's behind the glass.
Understood. So okay.
So yeah, not fun and not pretty at all. And so there's been a lot of. I mean, the former president's former spokesperson Harry Rock is being investigated. So I think it's more, in my opinion, to do with just that there were way too many scandals and crime being associated with them, and there was just too many clamorings for investigations for them to be closed down, and eventually, I guess,
it all catches
the optics did not look good.
Wow.
Crazy. I was just thinking about
fish tanks.
No. Although I'm still slightly confused by that, to be honest with you.
I'll show you in a minute, John. It's all right. We'll do it afterwards.
I was thinking about other. So, when you've got an economy that's been massively influenced by gambling, and there are really obvious ones. Las Vegas, well, Nevada is a hugely obvious one. Macau is another really obvious one. Malta, and no doubt Malta would still be a very popular tourist destination. But tourism is, particularly in Europe, tends to be a seasonal thing, whereas it's got iGaming revenue all year round. And I'm pretty sure I know which one the Maltese government would prefer. And far fewer kebab shops needed for the gambling industry. What's I was just thinking, when you've got something that puts so much into a local economy, they don't tend to get shut down and shit like that. But I was thinking about Russia under that nice man. What's his name again? Oh yeah, Vladimir Putin. When he shut down gambling, when he shut down land-based casinos in Russia, and they announced the grand plan, and it was this amazing twofold thing. So the 1 week they're like, right, you can't have a gambling establishment within, I think it was 50 meters of a school or church. So that basically rules any gambling establishment out of any Russian city. I mean, I can't remember if it was 50 meters or 100 meters, but it was just, okay, bye for everybody. And then they said, but we're going to have legal gambling in these 4 distinct areas, and 3 of those are still untouched. The only one that was used is the one that is closest to China. Totally a coincidence, I'm sure. But of course, what actually happened was all of the gambling establishments basically stayed. They just closed the windows and turned off the neon lights in the windows, and yet you had to know the special knock, as is so often the case in some slightly dodgy places. You know the secret knock, you get let in, and life goes on exactly as it was before. So I wonder. I wonder about the broader aspect of this, and you touched on it. Like, it's going to have an impact on the economy, because you're talking about significant numbers of people earning probably pretty decent money for the Philippines, and that money is going to be essentially disappearing. And I wonder a couple of things. I wonder what the medium and long term effect of that's going to be. But also, whenever I've dealt with PAGCOR in the past, they've actually been really engaging and really willing to talk. And this feels weird to me, because this all looks like lots of people are really confused about what's going on, whereas in the past they've seemed to be quite communicative. Am I mental, Ros?
No, I mean, PAGCOR is one of those regulatory agencies, I think, that has been very approachable in the past. And I've certainly dealt with all of the administrations there since Nagya's time, in fact. So that's 3 or 4 administrations ago. And they've always been very open about what they're doing and what they plan to do. I mean, let's be clear, this is not a PAGCOR decision, obviously. This was an announcement by Marcos, the president. So they really don't have much choice but to go along with it. Again, I'm not I don't have my ground to the ear on the politics side of things. So we don't know what's going on behind the scenes in terms of politics. And there's always something going on behind the scenes in terms of politics. I think some people were caught off guard by it, and it's certainly very swift and very sudden. And a bit of a shock. But then again, the Philippines is very resilient. We mentioned, PAGCOR is actually the second biggest provider to the government coffers, I think, in terms of revenue. So to the government tax coffers. So they're pretty important. Pretty important to the country as a whole. But, the GDP in the Philippines has been on a fairly solid sort of increase. It's one of the sort of brighter spots in the Southeast Asian economies, where it seems to be, doing reasonably well in other areas. So I think, that they'll always think of other ways to increase revenue. Unfortunately, the casinos have been sort of taking a bit of a dip too, so that hasn't helped the PAGCOR revenues. But then e-games revenue, which is the domestic POGOs, it escapes me what exactly they're called now. There's increased by 32% this last quarter. So as I say, that's doing super well.
Feels like, I'm going to throw wild aspersions here. It kind of feels like regime change, and let's shake up the old way and let's make sure the money's flowing to the right people under the new system. And
and we don't know about the sort of whole China-Philippines connection as well, and what sort of pressure is being put on there, or how much Marcos wants to be friendly with.
So it feels like there's.
We don't know. That's certainly why other people have shut down their gaming sort of overnight. So Cambodia being another example.
Yeah, and Cambodia has the same, like those kind of romance scam kind of call centers and stuff, like Cambodia.
So Sihanoukville certainly had to have a cleanse, and they shut everything down, got a new governor in, and kind of tidied the whole place up. I haven't been back since then, but certainly looks a lot cleaner and nicer. But some people just say it's business as usual with kind of the live or offshore gaming still happening. But I think the big complexes and the really big problematic ones are in Myanmar across the border. So Myanmar is where all those Miyawadi, not
pig butchering, they call it.
Yes, Tom.
Have you ever been in one of those places where they do all that, like all those like romance scams and stuff?
Not to my knowledge, but I have been to Sihanoukville, and certainly a lot of those casinos were built for, the live streaming to China. So it was really interesting to see these kind of aquarium style things with, people sitting behind desks. It was often actually on the phone too. So, you'd have these things kind of, the numbers to call on the desks and things like that. But yeah, the whole setup was to cater to the China sort of remote gaming market. So theoretically, those were all gone. And, there was over 100 casinos there at one point. I'm not sure how many there are now. So not that I know of, but certainly there were a lot of these kind of complexes where they were housed workers, and you couldn't go in or out of them, if you see what I mean. So who knows what those workers were doing? So inadvertently, I may very well have been. Yeah.
There was a really good investigative journalism article about it. I think it was 404 Media did it, and it was like some of these places are like a compound.
Yeah.
Where they all live there. They get enticed out of China to go like some fancy job or something like that, and then they're living in these barracks, making these phone calls or sending these WhatsApp messages every day to try and do
absolutely. And that's what they've discovered now in the Philippines too, so you can see that they need to do something about that, And then pressure from unilateral agencies, the UNODC and people like that, work. There is certainly greater cooperation, I think, in the region between different agencies as well to try and address this. But, when it's run by military junta and what have you, you can't.
Yeah. Actually, I've just remembered the book. I just remember where I read it. It's a book called Number Go Up. And there's a
Number Go Up.
Yeah. So he's kind of following crypto, and he talks about say Tether, which is like one of the stable coins that gets used a lot. But then he shows the link between he does a whole section on these pig butchering, and they're all transacting in Tether, and just how easy it is and how it's kind of facilitating effectively a lot of crime.
Yes,
I was only asking, Ross, really. I was only asking because I was wondering if you'd seen my photo on the wall.
Broke, do not call. Waste of time.
Rinsed.
Do not resuscitate.
Broke away.
Too lonely.
PNC.
Yeah. Time waster.
Ros, what is the number one contributor to government coffers in the Philippines?
Yeah, Ros.
Such a good journalist, Jon. That's a good question. What would it be then? Well, I don't know then.
U.S. government?
I should know.
Army bases?
I don't know.
Supervillain layers?
Obviously, so, I don't know whether they don't have a sort of regulatory agency, but the whole call center, business is huge there, of course, and that's, partly why, obviously, the gaming industry has done so well there, because they already had such a thriving call center industry, so ready set up for it, the staff, already speaking English, etc.
According to the OECD, it's VAT. Is the highest contributor, just general sales tax.
Huh.
That's so disappointing.
Yeah.
But it makes sense, right? Everyone's paying VAT.
I was hoping it was going to be Don Papa rum or something like that.
Yeah.
Should be. It's delicious rum.
Revenue statistics, sounds like.
Actually,
Ros, last time I saw you was in the Philippines. I think it was the last time I saw you in the flesh.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Manila. Any plans to go back?
No, because now I have to pay for my own travel and stuff. I don't go anywhere.
He only does private jets that have been paid for by other people. Travels like royalty.
To be fair, Fintan, just business class would give me a nosebleed. So a private jet would probably be a coronary while going through security.
An explosion.
Yeah, fair but enough. We don't all live in the same world you do, Fintan, where you stop for tea and a scone in Monaco I've been listening and making notes. I've passed this dossier on to Interpol.
From where to where?
I was visiting a friend for lunch. Which makes it worse.
Yeah, that's not better. That's fine then, as long as it was a friend and it was just
like
lunch.
Monica for lunch. What are you doing for your lunch, Jon?
I'm gonna eat some dehydrated beef at my desk, and that's not a euphemism.
You're eating jerky?
Yeah, but it's gone bad. I'm eating jerky off.
Oh,
it's not actually jerky, because jerky tends to have some kind of a sugar-based cure on it.
Oh, really?
I can't do sugar, so I've just dehydrated it with a little bit of salt on it and some air frying goodness. Wow. It's delicious. Don't get me wrong.
No,
how about you, Ros? What are you doing for lunch?
Well, won't be having dehydrated beef because I don't eat meat, so that's certainly not for me. I'm not sure yet, actually. But I'm quite looking forward to my lunch now, I have to say.
Have a pot noodle. Have a chicken and mushroom pot noodle.
No, don't do meat.
Ros, chicken and mushroom pot noodle is vegetarian friendly. It's not chicken. It's not. It's soya.
Beef hula hoops, thankfully.
It's soya. It's always been soya. It's not not chicken at all.
I imagine there's no ground up chickens in there. I used to have to have one.
That'd be way more expensive
on the Macau ferry, because when you went in upper class, you got either a hot dog or a pot noodle. I always went for the pot noodle.
I always went for standard class.
It's the best £10 you'll ever spend. Is upgrading to super class on the Macau ferry.
Well, I never had that option because I was always traveling on business for Casino International.
You could have spent your own £10.
It doesn't have £10.
Yeah, that's the thing, see? I was traveling on business for Casino International, so not only could I not spend £10, but I didn't have £10 to spend. It's all linked. It's all hidden in that statement.
It was like a street urchin that snuck onto the ferry. It was yeah, I can imagine.
That's exactly right. In fact, that's what my whole 17 years at Casino International was like, Fintan. I was like an urchin with an empty gruel bowl walking around ice and G2E. Exactly.
Please, sir.
And cargo to Vegas.
In the kennel box beside the Labradors.
Exactly. I could have upgraded to have a blanket, but
whereas, of course, now that you have your own podcast business, you're rolling in it. Is that right?
That's absolutely. Sponsorships are available for the Hot 100, Ros, just so you know.
Totally when you say rolling in it, do you mean rolling in money or rolling in my own filth?
What are you doing in your spare time, Jon?
I have to wrap it up because talking about my dog's trying to get in. Would you like an appearance, a special guest appearance?
Absolutely, we'd love to.
Come on in.
Hold on. Wait.
Because I've got my headphones on, so my dog won't be able to hear. He's got a suspicious look on his face, though. He's looking a bit suspicious, man.
Here he is. Oh,
is he jealous?
Here he is.
Oh.
Yes. As I don't usually shut the door on him, you see. So, there we are.
And he heard the lunch talk.
You're on TV.
He was worried he was missing out.
So on that note.
Brilliant, Ros. Thank you so much. So we'll winnamedia.com to buy tickets for your event in Bangkok on the 3rd and 4th of December.
That's right.
Be there.
And if you're interested in the next secret Hot 100, get in touch directly with me.
Oh, invite only. Black book list, red velvet robes. Love it.
Volcano.
All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. Always a pleasure.
Brilliant. Thanks so much.
Ros, thank you for joining us.